Hey everybody, it's Kat Carasello. I'm the founder of Journey Path Institute, and I wanted to pop in today and have a longer conversation about what is midlife and how do we expand the potential of what is held in that long, deep, and wide span of time. You know, when we're in experience, it's only now. And sometimes now feels like forever. And it doesn't matter if we're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. Midlife is actually that long. I think some of us enter into midlife unexpectedly, sometimes through certain happenings, certain circumstances, and maybe through a shift in our role or our level of responsibility. And midlife sort of happens to us. And maybe it sneaks in, or maybe it descends and feels like a burden. And midlife, it's not necessarily a prediction of how long we're going to live. It's when we have moved out of youth and the learning phases of life and moved into a time of life that is holding a different kind of quality or tone. And that can be a little shocking to the systems. And think back, you know, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you're thinking back to when you were 30, when did you slip into midlife? Or when did midlife happen to you or come to meet you? I think it's a really interesting part of our work together as women of all ages, and the multi-generational communities that we foster in Journey Path Institute is generally offering this idea that we hold each and every aspect of ourself within the whole. So we are all infants and we are all elders, and we are all expressions of every woman and any woman. That parts of self will come and guide us and inform us when we open to that kind of energy and that kind of conversation. So if we are every woman, and if we are using this time of midlife to explore our stories, then what is going to come to meet us and greet us and support us and guide us through wherever each of us are in our current journey? So how and where midlife meets you may be at a certain juncture where you're even curious, am I in midlife? Am I moving from midlife into my wisdom years? Where am I? Well, that may not be the question that you want to create with. How can I draw on the gifts and the benefits of the archetypes of midlife to companion me, to recognize when the time is ripe? There is always a ripeness. There is always potential in our current experience, even the ones that feel crappy, even the ones that confound us and confuse us. And midlife, from my perspective at 61, is full of experiences that confound and confuse. I was a mother when I was 23. I entered into midlife in my 20s, for sure. Even though I was young and inexperienced and maybe naive, I was wise beyond my years, and I had a lot of responsibility. 3 kids under 4 by the time I was 28, and some areas of hardship and disruption that shocked me, that made me more responsible, but less stable in a sense, you know? And so midlife can really sneak up. So I'm not saying it's always at 30, it's always at 35, but I know for sure we live longer, and midlife is going to stretch us from our 30s into our 70s. And wherever you feel midlife is, and whatever that span is exactly what you can create with. But when we talk about where we are companioned and how we are companioned and why we would do This work that is being presented in Ignite Archetypes, evoking the archetypes of midlife, is because we as women are always doing our work. And those of you who are dedicated to depth, there is not any age where you're going to be too old. And frankly, there's no age when you're too young. You're drawn to depth. You want to move into deeper knowledge with your own life, and you're taking that sense of what is ripe for me. Where am I being called to do my work? What is this midlife anyway? What does it mean? What might it bring? How can I harness and invite these archetypes of midlife into relationships so that I can know them better, so that I can create the counsel of support that I need for my next steps. So this work is not about going back and healing the past. It's about offering support for the current journey and the future journey, no matter where you are. Because the archetypes of midlife travel with us into our wisdom years. And guess what? They change. They shift position. They become primary at different times. They support you in a variety of ways. Each of these 9 archetypes of midlife that are being presented in Ignite are there to guide you wherever you are, in ways that I actually think are the most profound, meeting us where we feel we're ready for something new, where we are anticipating change, recognizing where we're at a threshold, where we're crossing over into a new awareness or a new part of life, and maybe crossing out of. So times that can affect us, like raising children, having preteens, having multi-generational homes, empty nesting, embarking on reinvention, new career, financial challenges, moving to a new place, redesigning your life, redefining your life, post-divorce or new partnerships, or opening back to relationships after you've taken a break, rediscovery, learning how to survive grief and loss and change. And there's not one of us of any age who has not gone through a lot of these things that I mentioned. So how do we resource ourselves? How do we create the right space to engage depth work and invite these archetypal energies to come in as allies and guides, and recognize the power of individuated experience? I think it's through this work. Creative depth work has changed my life. And if you say, I'm not creative at all, well, you don't need to be. A pen to paper can draw a line, a doodle, a choosing of an image, a recognizing a story's unfolding. That scribing energy of just scribbling down a little slice of a story and recognizing how it resonates with you. Also cultivating an environment where we can actually share our stories and connect to one another and see ourselves in one another. Women of all ages traveling together as elders and infants, as every phase and stage of your experience and how your chronological age may not be much of a factor at all in what you know to be your current needs, your current desires, your current energy and expression, and how certain archetypes that are held within this circle of 9. And you can walk over to the Ignite page and just check out who these are. But these circle of 9 are yours. They're your archetypes. They will come to meet you. They will be your energies. They will be calling forth their energy to meet your energy in very, very specific ways. What is midlife? How do we create space to have the best experience possible, to enrich and enliven and heal and restore our story, your story, my story? Chronological age is beside the point. When we can travel with archetypes of midlife, as they are called in this process, as I have worked with them over the last year and a half, as they have come to me when I invited them to tell me their names and work with me and show me what they had to offer, is to say each one of us is served by recognizing what kind of support we can source for ourselves. Now, this is not to just be independent. This is not to say, I don't need anybody. I don't want companioning on my journey. I don't want to work with other energies or other people. I want to be independent and sovereign, which is fantastic if that's part of your story. But also to recognize that if we really resource ourselves, and have the capacity to start to create this kind of supportive energy that's accessible and variable, we can start to live into life in an entirely new way. Midlife is long and deep and wide. If I went into my midlife experiences in my 20s, which I definitely did because I had kids and I was pretty burdened and I was trying to figure a lot out, then how long is my life? Don't do the math. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to define midlife in numbers or in measuring sticks. We're here to measure midlife in quality and ability to choose new ways at any given time, to recognize and acknowledge new energies that are living within our life at any time, and the ability to start to forge relationships that are self-sourced, that are mind, body, soul, spirit, exercising its energies, and that these archetypes are universal in a sense. Archetypal energies are universal and personal. These are not general archetypes that you are normally working with. These are the circle of 9, the edge dancer, the weaver of wild, the story healer. These are specific archetypal energies that I'm inviting you to foster a connection to and birth them in your art, birth them in your consciousness, birth them in your day-to-day experience. They're not imaged. Why? Because I want you to image them. Because they're yours. Because until you know them, how can you give them shape and form and face? How can you know who they truly are only by their name? But you have to listen to their stories, understand why they've come forth, understand who you are now in your relationship with one or the next or a cluster or the whole council. That's why we're going to work in Ignite and Archetypes of Midlife and the wisdom years. So wherever you are in your journey, you're in the right place and they travel with you. And there's no time frame. You get to choose what it means, midlife and wisdom years, and what that threshold is and where you are at the beginning of midlife, in the middle of that midlife journey, and early midlife or late midlife. It doesn't matter where you are. What matters is you say yes to sourcing your own archetypal wisdom. And that is the relationship of this circle of 9 and your creative energies and your desire and your delight and your curiosity that you bring to the process that's going to actually birth your self-knowledge, your source. But many of us know that we're in midlife. We sense how midlife is holding us. And we understand the challenges and pitfalls and areas that put us right to the edge of often not knowing. We hate not knowing. We love the mystery, but as humans, we hate not knowing, especially when we want to know and predict and lean into that familiar space of, I can do this. It's the questioning and the doubt that can come and really start to do a number on us. There's so many parts of our experiences. If we're talking about our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, wherever you are and wherever that stretch from now into the future is, that's where we're doing the work in Ignite. That's what this is, because the archetypes come to meet you now into the next, not into the past. Creative depth takes us from the past to the present and the present to the future. And so this archetypal wisdom and the energy of moving into our relationships and being companioned is so potent and powerful. So of course, I'm inviting you to Ignite, evoking the archetypes of midlife, this new 4-month program, because I know the richness that we're going to experience together. And I know the conversations that we're going to have about all of the different roles and responsibilities and how soul work moves in different ways in different lives at different times, and how the archetypes and the circle of 9 are going to help us to bridge and open into these moments of awareness and thresholds and crossing into new territory. And this work is so rich and it's so beautiful that I wanted to come in and ask the question, what is midlife? I think I know, but I may not know. What am I going to discover when I engage again? Because I know the beauty of engaging again and again. So of course, Ignite Archetypes of Midlife is open now for registration, and it's an evergreen course. You're going to get lifetime access to it. This is a body of work that will travel with you for a long time. It's incredibly potent. It's a real honor for me to be initiating this, and I hope that you are interested and will explore what's over on the Ignite page. But in the meantime, that this conversation holds us and gives us some creative fodder to play with as we move further into our day.